Chapter 4's gameplay trailer is finally out, revealing a brand new character. And today, we're gonna go over every single secret inside of it, where we are left with literally dozens of questions and answers going into the chapter finally, all of which we are breaking down today. So firstly, the trailer starts with a little commercial playing faintly in the background, advertising some kind of new toy. While some colorful material drops down on the floor and an alarm blasts throughout the area. Then we are brought through the main chapter 4 location, the prison, showing a bunch of new shots while our good old friend Poppy returns and exclaims to us,
"Down here, it's not like anything you've seen above. It's hell."
Referencing how deep we've traveled in the factory as Poppy continues,
"And Playtime wanted it to be."
Obviously suggesting all of the suffering the toys are experiencing down here was intentional the whole time. I mean, it is a prison after all. But next we cut to a shot of the Harley Sawyer eye, something teased in tons of different teasers, as Harley himself speaks to us saying,
"Now what's this?"
before we fall into some kind of hole underneath us. Next we see ourselves walk through the prison, catch a peek at this mysterious room with a bunch of TVs in this shot, and then we walk through an employee cafeteria where we spot ourselves a perished employee with a spare red GrabPack can flashing around that we then take for ourselves, all while a new unheard mysterious voice tells us,
"They call him the Doctor. He works with the prototype, commands everything down here, hunting us, starving us."
confirming the prototype was actually working with Harley Sawyer, which is extremely interesting. As they are speaking, we are met with this shot showing the prison with the red gas shooting all throughout the place, followed by this shot showing our good old friend Yarnaby roaming around as we are seemingly stuck inside of this fenced area, maybe for the better, before flashing to this interesting mural showing what is called the Safe Haven, displaying a bunch of traumatized experiments / children in the middle being held with love by the arms of an orange and yellow creature. While we also see they actually have an interesting disliking for Poppy here, crossing her art out completely. After another gameplay shot of us grappling around, we see this shot of us in the computer room where we saw in the Doctor trailer Harley Sawyer powering up, while also a massive Yarnaby who's like way larger than us roams the area in search of us, which is extremely weird. I don't know why in some areas he is small and others he is huge. It's very confusing, but then afterwards it pans to a small sewer area from a previous chapter 4 screenshot where the remnants of the drippy colors from before can be seen here. But in the next shot, we finally get to see Harley Sawyer powering on, while among him are a bunch of extra bodies to be used as minions. Where as this is being revealed, he says,
"There are no places you can hide, not from me."
The trailer then fades to showing us back with Poppy and even an alive but seemingly injured Kissy Missy, while another voice speaks to us,
"I've got something special and more."
followed by some more gameplay shots and even a look at one of the Harley Sawyer minions taunting us before shooting us down another trapdoor, while Poppy says,
"I need to make this right."
and after some more shots of Sawyer's minions and our first look at the nightmare critters, who will in fact be appearing as the small plushies similar to the smiling critters, also being met with some weird spider huggies which I thought were adorable, we are then brought to this section of the players surrounded by bodies of the old employees, sifting through them while Sawyer returns saying,
"Let's make a game of you."
showing that he seemed to see us as nothing more than rats in a maze, something to make a game of. Especially as in the next shot, while he's saying this, we see one of the prison vaults open in this observatory room to let an experiment inside, which as we saw in this recently released screenshot will contain Yarnaby, who presumably is going to try to kill us, possibly being Sawyer trying to toy with us by sending Yarnaby in to come our way. After some panic shot of the nightmare critters and more of injured Kissy and Poppy panicking, yelling to someone, a small quick look at Pianosaurus seemingly chasing us at 500 miles an hour, and even Ollie making a return saying, presumably giving us call outs for Yarnaby or maybe one of the other villains. We see this scene of us walking through some kind of blue smoke, which looks really interesting, followed by this shot of what looks to be body bags in the kitchen area of the prison, and some other mystery gameplay shots where we hear another mystery voice exclaim, "I failed you," as Poppy screams,
"You lied to me!"
And we then return to the TV-filled room as they all turn on, the door opens up, and the trailer closes. But not before we continue from the opening shot as the dribbling goo continues and alarms buzz as a new creature forms in front of us, who finishes up his forming and gives us his first introduction.
Hiya there, pal. Follow me.
which is where the trailer ends. Now, there are so many things to break down here, so many questions that are extremely difficult to answer, but to keep things simple, the first thing I want to talk about is the new character, Doey the Doughman, who I can finally say I've seen leaks about their name for months and had to sort of ignore them, but he is the finally revealed hat character I've talked about on this channel for forever and assumed to be the main villain, where I am seemingly completely wrong. As while he might be a main character like I thought, he definitely doesn't appear to be an enemy. He's actually very approachable and nice and doesn't seem intimidating at all, which I'll admit it, I was wrong. Doey seems like he'll be our ally, not our main villain. That title seemingly belongs to Harley Sawyer, but before talking about him, this still leaves me with a question. Who is Doey the Doughman and why is he our friend? Well, regarding him as a toy, we heard a commercial for him at the very beginning where they call him stretchy and gooey, which I assume we will probably get the full tape of when the chapter is fully released, like for the intro, which they've done for every other chapter. And we can also see on his body, he has the weird circular hand shape, something that we originally saw back in July of 2024, so that's absolutely insane to see. But as for his lore and story for chapter 4, I think the answer seemingly lies in this shot, what I think is the most important shot right here, the safe haven, which obviously must be important if it's the title of the entire chapter. And we also know it's important because looking at the mural, we can see that there are a bunch of experiments like Bunso Bunny here and Crafty Corn here. I don't think they're the original bigger bodies, they're just meant to represent children, all in the arms and love of Doey the Doughman. And judged from the mural and its name, the Safe Haven, this seems like maybe it will be a location in chapter 4 where Doey rescued some of the prisoners down here and brought them to a place hidden away where they could be safe from the evil wrath of Harley Sawyer and the prototype, explaining how he is a good character. And interestingly, while this scene plays, we also hear a new voice discuss Harley Sawyer and the prototype's rule over Playtime Co, saying they called him the doctor, he works with the prototype, commands everything down here, hunting us, starving us. Which of course proves to us that while Harley Sawyer originally contained the prototype and was studying him, something had changed and now they are working together, which gives us so much more conflict for the rest of the game. But what's interesting about this new character is at the end he says hunting us, starving us, and since we learned in chapter 3 this is exactly what the prototype was doing to the toys by starving them and feeding their enemies to the others, this means this voice of course must be one of the experiments, one who I think will likely be a part of the Safe Haven toys since he is still alive and hasn't been hunted down. There was also another new mystery voice in the trailer that I didn't recognize or anything, but it kind of sounded like it was coming from a VHS, so I assume it might have been one of the employees.
I've got something special and more.
Outside of the new characters though, we also see two returning ones, Kissy Missy and Poppy, who first, with Kissy, we could see that while she was attacked by something in chapter 3's ending, she miraculously survived, albeit with burn marks and wounds all over her body, still pushing through to help us, which is exactly why she is my favorite. Kissy is just the best. As for Poppy, maybe not so much, because while we have been going on and on about Poppy in previous chapters acting weird, almost as if she was going to betray us, we know what side Doey and the Safe Haven group are on, which is against Poppy, crossing her art on the drawing and also saying she left us, setting up a super interesting dynamic because it seems like at some point Poppy was maybe liked or considered friendly and had somehow left them behind, again showing that Poppy is in fact a natural betrayer, and in this chapter we may finally learn about her evil ways. Moving on from Poppy though, there were also a few other cool things worth mentioning in the trailer, like that we could see we are going to be getting the red hand back for whatever reason, which also just had some kind of flickering flashlight when we picked it up. Maybe it could be a flashbang, or maybe it'll be a flashlight we can turn on and off like what we saw in the update to chapter 2, because we still don't have that in the current games. Speaking of GrabPacks, I'm not sure what happened, but in this shot here we can see that the purple GrabPack is kind of colored differently and is sparking, almost like it was broken or upgraded or something was different. It also looked like obstacle wise there was going to be a couple of different electric platforms that I assume would just kill you if you touch them. Plus we got to see there's going to be a lot of sections in the game featuring the red smoke again, along with the nightmare critters, which in this scene we actually see ourselves fighting off in waves while we have this weird red circle around us, which could either be a hit marker system, like we need to get hit multiple times by the nightmare critters before it kills us, or as we were just discussing, it could even be from the red smoke because we no longer have a gas mask, and maybe while we have this effect after breathing it in we can hallucinate or have something happen to us. But the most interesting gameplay detail is that we can see here, there is some kind of gas coming out of a pipe, very similar to the red gas pipes we've seen containing the red smoke, but this time it's blue. So maybe while the red gas had sleeping properties, this one will do something new to us or different that may instead benefit us. I mean, we run through it for a reason. But the real star of the show is Harley Sawyer. As for a while, we assumed he was just the cameras and the one body, nothing really more, but he seems to be much bigger, having hundreds of TVs watching at all times, and even these bodyguard things he seemingly is able to connect to, and it seems like they are going to follow us around everywhere. Like, for instance, in this shot, it looks like they might be a weeping angel type thing, similar to the endoskeletons from FNAF Security Breach. YouTuber It's Lightning also pointed out to me that this silhouette we saw from the Chapter 4 ARG, which we were never able to solve, was actually the back of these endoskeletons, so that's pretty cool. But the main thing I gather from Harley's existence here is that it doesn't seem like he really takes us all that seriously. We see on multiple occasions him putting us through what looks like trapdoors that just fall underneath us, and we also heard him say, "Let's make a game of you," which, as I mentioned, seems like Harley might be using us for mere entertainment and nothing more. Something we will obviously be fighting hard against in Chapter 4, and while we've seen that Harley can literally morph into anything he can power on, I assume with that being said, our goal is going to be to shut down all of his power, because we saw in the Doctor trailer that with no power comes no consciousness, and therefore no ability for him to continue his golden dark path. They also never explain what this room with the TVs is going to be for. They kind of hyped it up, so I assume maybe this is the room right before we finally see Harley Sawyer and his fully fledged version for a boss fight or something, but I don't know. However, this overall sets up a super interesting story and motive going into the next game. We will be visiting the prison to find that the place has become a hellhole, with leeching toys and dead employees rotting the area, while the remaining employee and creator Harley Sawyer picks with his food, entertaining himself by making us suffer, and hiding inside of this hole there is a safe haven, where the remaining toys who managed to survive gathered and lived together, trying to help us on our mission to free them all from this place, including their leader Doey. But while they seem to be our new friends, that doesn't mean they like our old friends, and it seems like we can't trust anybody. But for now, that's what we have here for Chapter 4. It's looking amazing. There are so many mysteries though, like how is Harley able to morph like this? How are we gonna stop him? How is Doey the Dough Man going to help us? Where in the world did Kissy come from? Is Poppy finally going to be exposed for her lies? And why did she call someone a liar at the end of the trailer? I don't know, but just in a few days, we finally find out.